Hey everybody, Terry with the Dronecav. Welcome back. Hope you had a great Halloween. Boy, wasn't that a great weekend? We had so much fun. Don't know if you saw my stuff on social media, but we kind of decorated up the front of the house. We had some cool kids and a lot of fun stuff. So anyway, man, we always hate the Halloween's over, but you know, as horror people, Halloween is just every day, right? We just celebrate it all. October and September and all that stuff. So anyway, I'll go on about Halloween forever. Anyway, I hope you had a great Halloween. I hope you're having a great week, a great start to November. And boy, I don't know where you're at and what the weather's like, but here in Florida, man, it couldn't get any better. It's like been mid-70s. It's been getting kind of cool at night, which is fine. Beautiful blue skies. I mean, it's just such a great time of year here. It's gorgeous. So I hope it's just as beautiful where you are. I mean, this is perfect weather to get out flying your drones. We've had such great new drones come out as we've been talking about. So if you got your hands on a new drone, it's great time to fly in most areas. Yeah, I guess it's snowing in some areas and that kind of thing, but you still just have to sort of be careful with it. Anyway, on last week's show, I started venturing into some new areas. And as you know, the Dronecav is, of course, about drones, which is a platform for small cameras, right? So we're going to be talking a lot more about small cameras and small camera systems because they do lead into drones in the air, but also on the ground. And we also have a lot of supporting technologies that we've talked about that you're going to be hearing a lot about. Computers, tablets, smartphones, external hard drives, storage, cloud services, all these things because they all plug in. I mean, you just can't know one little piece about it. It's a big, big environment and a lot to know about. So what we're going to be talking about for a while, I mean, this may go on multiple episodes, is the Osmo 4. This is called the OM4. You saw it last week. And as you know, I've been shooting for a long time with the Osmo Pocket. We love the Osmo Pocket. Shoots 4K, 60 frames per second. It's small. It will literally fit in your pocket. It's a little tiny, high-quality camera. And you've seen this before, but I'm going to show you again. This is the Osmo Extension Rod that comes with it, so you can use it in a variety of ways. I mean, don't think of it just like as a selfie stick. It does a lot more than that because it has embedded electronics with a joystick control, power on and off. It does a lot of stuff. But again, we're talking a little bit more budget. I mean, this is the Osmo Pocket #1, version 1. Now you can find these for like $300. They were like $349 or I think $369, somewhere in that neighborhood, mid 300s. This was just updated to the Pocket 2, which is now $349. So you're going to find these for under $300 now, which is not a bad deal. But depending on your budget, you might not just want to spend the money, right? And chances are, and like I said last week, you've got one of these in your pocket already. I mean, you're carrying around a smartphone, and I'll bet you it's got a really good camera on it. So that's why we're talking about things like the Osmo itself. This is the Osmo Mobile, the OM. That's what that stands for, Osmo Mobile. DJI, who also makes the drones, Mavics, Phantoms, that sort of thing, have such a good handle on gimbals and this type of small camera support technology that it just all, I mean, you're kind of seeing how the pieces fit together. I mean, it's kind of like a big drone gimbal in a way. The camera and gimbal on this is basically a drone camera and gimbal that they've attached to a handheld device. So you can kind of see how all this just bleeds in. There are going to be times where it's not appropriate or necessary to fly a drone in certain tight areas or around people or going through tight things like maybe through the railing of a fence or whatever, or just anything like that, or through a window. It's going to be tough and kind of needlessly unsafe to put a drone in that situation. That's why we have these devices to basically get you the same results, same quality, even better in some ways, as an alternative way. So anyway, this guy is version 4. Talked about this last week, so I'm not going to rehash all that stuff. We're going to get a little more under the hood today. Version 4. All right, so it's not a brand new product. Got a lot of kinks, a lot of bugs worked out, and a lot of improvements. The biggest thing is the attachment. and you can see this little clamp thing I've got on the back here. It's just a spring clamp. It pops right on. It's very quick, very easy to put on. And how do you attach it to the Osmo? Pow. It's a magnet. That is all you have to do with it. Now, the cool thing is, the older Osmos, and I have an Osmo 2, which is a good device, but you had to balance it. You had to, it was a little fiddly. You had to fool with it and all that. It was a bit bigger, where this is a much smaller device. Now, I've got the tripod on here. Again, if you watched last week, this is old hat, but really, that's all you've got. All right. Let's put the tripod on it because I'll be picking it up, putting it down, picking it up, putting it down. Plus, the tripod gives you a bit of an extension handle to hold on to, so you can get some different angles. And you can even see that it threads on at a bit of an angle. So that gives you some different options there. All right, so how do you use this thing? What's it do? Let's take a little tour. All right, see these buttons? This is the power button. It's also called the M button. Sorry, I'm hiding behind the phone there. It's also called the M button. What M stands for, I don't know. I just haven't come across that yet. But that basically powers it on and off. Now press it once briefly. It shows us the battery power up there. So let's power it up. And you see how it calibrates. Now, we're going to open this dude up. Now, we've got the phone, the camera up. So you do have to turn on your phone. It doesn't do that automatically. Now, it does connect by Bluetooth, but it doesn't, again, take control and turn your phone on. That you have to manually do. So let's do that. And we're going to launch the Dji Memo App. We're going to take a look here in just a second at the Memo app and the settings and that sort of thing. So now, look at that. Isn't that kind of, look at that. All special effects and stuff. Check it out. See, you're already some technique. Tricky as that. I can goof around with this stuff all day. So anyway, we've got that button. The next button up is your shutter button. That will, if you're using it for photos, that will take a photo. It's just a shutter button. Click, 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 right? You can hold it for burst. So it will do burst shooting. Now remember, last week I was talking about, you've got a cool camera in there. The camera is the hardware. That's the one part. Then you have the software that runs the camera. We are not using the built-in camera software, like when you just pick your phone up and hit the camera icon and take off and start shooting pictures or video. That's using the software that's baked into the system on your phone, whether it's an iOS device or Android device. What we're using now is DJI's Memo app. So we're using the camera software, the camera controls in there. So anyway, that will shoot the pictures. It will do the burst, for example. If we're shooting video, that's what starts and stops your video. All right, not bad. Now, the joystick right over here is pretty darn cool. I keep putting this in front of my face. That might be a good thing. You don't have to look at me. So anyway, I'm just going to move the joystick around a little bit so you can see how that moves the tilt. And it's dead silent. It's completely quiet. There's no buzz of motors and all that kind of stuff. You can rotate. So you can do some different things with that. All right. So that's all you've got to wrangle with on the front. So what about this? This switch on the side. Kind of looks like a rocker switch, but it's not. It's an up-down switch. That is for a zoom. This does have a digital zoom. It uses the camera, of course, in your smartphone, but the software allows it to zoom in and out. And now it does have different levels of zoom depending on the resolution you're shooting in. Of course, the lower resolution, you're going to get more zoom ability. And lastly, we have a trigger on the back. Now, the trigger does a few cool things. You can pull the trigger and hold it, and that locks the phone. So however you move the gimbal, notice I'm kind of moving around and twisting it around and doing these things, but the camera is staying stable. The camera isn't going anywhere. It's staying kind of locked. I mean, if you could see from this side, you could see what it's locking in on. So it stays locked like that. What else can you do with the trigger? Pull it twice and it recenters your camera. Now think about that. That's pretty handy. If you've been moving it around with the joystick and you've got your orientation all crazy, but you need to get it back to that dead center, just 2 quick presses, click, click, and it recenters it. Now, I clicked it 3 times. You can't really see what's going on, but let me show you. 1, 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. See what's going on there? It's switching the camera back and forth. So from your front camera to your back camera. So you've got some cool stuff like that. Now this M button, as I mentioned on the front. Now we're up and running. This is a pretty cool thing. You're going to see this here in just a second because I'm going to show you the screen. But you can press it and it gives some different modes. We can choose video mode, photo mode, special effects modes, things like that. Now, check this out. 2 presses and it changes from portrait to landscape. Now, again, one hand, I mean, I'm leaning up against something here. I am relaxed and taking it easy. It's that hard to change your camera orientation. Now, if you need to put it in standby mode, for some reason, you just need to kind of pause for a minute and maybe conserve some battery power. 3 times, it puts your device in standby. And 1 press brings it back live. So anyway, that's sort of a tour of the buttons and what they do. One last thing. This is kind of a cool thing, and this is one of the reasons I like DJI. I mean, I like them for a lot of reasons. They make good stuff. They make good quality products. But they think of things, and they come up with things that are useful. So you've got, if you can see it here, you have it's a cover there. It's a USB cover. It's a little tough to get off because I don't have any fingernails, and the gimbal is active. Hey, I think I got it. Ta-da! Look at that. It's a USB port. What's that for? Well, load to your computer, or I don't know, just plug something. It works as a power bank. This thing has a battery. You do have to charge it, which is what the USB-C port is. But with this thing charged up, the battery in there is good for, I think it's rated at like 14 or 15 hours. What if you're out on set or on site or just wherever you're at, and say your phone starts to die or one of your other devices start to die and you need to charge up? You can plug in your charge cable to this, use it as a power bank to charge another device. So how cool is that? So not only do you have a gimbal with all these controls, all this software baked in, you also have a backup battery, a spare battery. So man, it's cool stuff. All right, said this last week. I hope you watched last week. If not, I'm going to tell you again, this whole kit, this tripod, wrist strap, a nice little carry bag, the clamp. It also comes not only with the clamp, it comes one if you want to permanently stick it on the back of your phone. It comes with a permanently stuck on like medallion thing. 149 bucks. I mean, so again, we're talking a device like this, when you buy the camera, which again, you're buying another camera. Do you really need the other camera? Something to think about. Basically the same functionality, but then you're going to have to buy the extension rod. You're going to have to buy the Wi-Fi transmitter. Now the new ones have this stuff a bit more baked into the kits, but still you're looking at about a $500 kit. You have got a phone. You've already spent money on your phone. You've got it in your pocket. Check out the camera specs. If they're decent camera specs, this is an iPhone XR. This is about a year old. It shoots fantastic. I shoot 4K 60 in it. Come on, it's the same as the other one. It's really good quality. So I've already got the phone, already spent that money, banked it, and I use the phone all day, every day, like you do and everybody else does. Now, 150 bucks, you're set to go. And again, this thing isn't huge and giant. I carry it around in a little small, camera bag. I take it all over the place. So it's really, really a cool thing. It's going to help you get some fantastic shots, some stabilized shots, some special shots that we're going to be getting into, like dolly zoom, spin shots, kind of like the Inception movie. We're going to be doing all that next week as we get deeper into the software. But Next, I'm taking you in to show you the settings, show you some of the things that you can do to set this thing up, because you are going to be amazed at what it can do. Again, the zoom features, the specialized shots, the camera settings, the things that come baked into this. And then later on in an episode, probably we'll start with next week's episode too, we'll start leading into this. We're going to talk more about that software, Filmic Pro, and what all it can do, because then we're getting up to really some crazy, interesting pro level stuff there that we can shoot in flat profile and really work with this guy and just an even better piece of software to get some amazing shots. So anyway, let's go over, let's take a look at some of these settings under the hood. I want to take you on a tour of the Dji Memo app so you can see a bit more about what's in here and what this can do for you and get you started. I mean, again, you can start making your movie today because it's not going to set you back a huge fortune. Take the camera you've got in your pocket, add this to it, and go out there and start shooting something. Make your movie a reality, and that's what this is going to do. So anyway, let's take a look at this other stuff, and we will get rolling. Okay, hey everybody, welcome back. I've got a little help here today from my good friend Captain Spalding to show us some of the settings on the Dji Memo app that you use with your Osmo OM4. Now again, this is the app that comes from DJI, that works with it, that also works with the Osmo Pocket. And we're just going to kind of take a look here at some of the settings to let you know a little bit about what do you have available. So looking across the left side here, you see the black column starting with a little icon that kind of looks like a house, then one that says auto, camera below it, so on and so forth. I'm just going to touch on these. That takes us back to the main screen. But see that little camera icon in the bottom left in blue? That will switch you back from the home screen of the app to the camera view where you can actually use and work with this. Now, going down below, tap on auto. Now, again, we're in auto mode, so it's setting the exposure and shutter and everything by itself, but we can go in here and tap on the M for manual, and you can see the adjustments we have here. We can change the ISO, we can change the shutter speed, so we have some controls here. Now getting down here to our resolution and frames per second. Now this is pretty cool because as you can see, we can go from 720 to 1080 up to 4K, but look at that. We can do 4K at 60 frames per second. So really cool settings there, some good functionality built in. One down below, this is kind of cool. It's not something I think I would use a lot, but it has these glamour effects that can, in your shot, in the camera, go ahead and apply some filters and things there. Again, typically you're going to want to do that in post, but hey, they're here, so just wanted to show you. Now these three dots down at the bottom let you control a few more things. And notice how that column on the left changed a little. This is easy to forget because you click on that icon with the three dots and you think, well, it takes you just into one menu. No, there's actually a couple more sub-menus in here. So obviously the flash is at the top. White balance, we can set that for automatic. But a little thing to remember about setting your white balance. I tend to lock that onto the most appropriate setting that I'm shooting in. So if I'm shooting outside and it's sunny or cloudy, as you can see, or indoors, incandescent fluorescent light, that way it locks that white balance so it's not shifting and it's not moving around as you move the camera and change the scene somewhat. You can also set custom parameters here. And we'll go down to the middle. This is where we get into more settings as far as the hardware and the control of the gimbal itself. Now, under follow mode, that's where we can lock onto a subject. I'm going to show you a few examples here in a second. For follow, if we're going to follow a moving subject and we want to stay locked on that. Tilt locked is just that. It keeps the camera aimed at a certain orientation forward, so if you tilt the gimbal up, down, or whatever, it's going to keep the horizon level. FPV, first person view, that just basically lets the camera move wherever you point it. It's going to go, if you point it left, it aims left. If you turn right, it just sort of locks it onto your movements rather than locking onto a subject. Spin shot is a really cool thing. That's what I kind of call, because I've seen it somewhere, the inception effect. It's where the camera kind of rotates. It's cool for stills to give you sort of that angled shot, but it's also really cool for video because it gives that spiral, like you're spiraling around looking at something. And of course you can walk in, walk out, and play with that and have some cool effects come out of it. Now the zoom speed. Remember on the Osmo on the left side you have that little toggle switch for the zoom. The zoom tends to be, I find, a little fast, even up in the medium settings. I'm going to move that up a little bit. Even if you get up into this range, the zoom tends to move really fast. You see how that really flies in on the good captain there. So I'm going to turn that back down. I like keeping it all the way down. Now notice the difference. I'm giving it full stick zoom in and zoom out. It's a much smoother effect. I just like that personally, but you do have the option to set that here. Now the control stick speed is the joystick, the little thumb pad joystick on there, and you have some options to adjust the speed for fast or slow, and I have it on medium. I want to show you, again, the speed that you can expect for full action there. And the control stick direction is free. That is just my preference. Again, you can move it in any direction, but if you want to lock that to just move strictly horizontally and vertically without any, say, angled direction, you can do that here. You can invert the pan control, the tilt control. This press M button. Remember, the M button is the power button on the front. So there's a couple things you can do here, and I've made a change here from the default. I wanted to show you why. Your two options here are to press the M button to have it switch between photo mode and video mode, which is handy, but the quick menu gives you even more options, and you're going to see that here in just a second. We'll leave the gimbal calibration alone. If you find something wacky with your gimbal, like if you're getting horizon tilt or something like that, you can come in here and calibrate it. And even if you need to do a finer adjustment, you can adjust the gimbal even further here. All right, let's go back in there. And down at the very bottom, you see those 4 squares. This is about your device. This will tell you the device serial number, what version of the firmware it's running, and anything in particular you may want to change, like the name of your device or whatever. So, looking along the bottom in the center, you can see that 1.0x, that's our zoom indicator. And let's zoom in a little and see how that number goes up. Hey, Captain Spaulding. And your other camera settings just below that. Now, the far right side, you'll kind of see the words video is highlighted, photo and pano above it, slow motion, so on and so forth. Now you can come over here and scroll up and down on these, and that's all fine and good. But remember, we just talked about that M button programming. If I tap that, it comes up right here and it shows us some options. So I can use the stick and scroll through these items. A lot of stuff in there, right? And don't worry, because we're going to be getting to a lot of this stuff in some episodes down the road. Normally you're going to be shooting photo or video though. Pano is really cool. Story is fun. Slow motion is good. The Dynazoom is what DJI is calling what we know as the dolly zoom, or the Hitchcock vertigo effect. So that's built in there. Of course, we have time-lapse and hyperlapse here as well. But notice over to the right, I'm going to go back here to video. I'll toggle the stick to the right, and it takes me over to the sub-menu. And this is where I can choose these options, like FPV, tilt lock, or follow. So that way, you don't have to take your hands off and make the manual settings on the phone itself. You can do that all right here from the control stick and the M button. So that's why I changed that rather than switch back and forth between video and photo mode. Again, that's a handy thing, but you can also do that, obviously, right here with one click, and then quite a bit more. You can get into all your modes this way. So that's really handy. So that's kind of a brief rundown of what to expect from the control screen here in the Dji Memo app. Now we're going to be going into Filmic Pro, which does tie in and work with the Osmo. It is built in to the Osmo system. Now it won't have all these features, but we're getting deeper into more of a strictly video level with pro level adjustments and things like that. So it throws out some of these fun things that are pre-programmed, like the hyperlapse and story mode and all that, because you don't need that. If you're using Filmic Pro, you're just shooting video and you're going for more pro results where you need more control over focus and camera settings. So that's what we'll be looking at as we get deeper. But there is nothing wrong here to shoot some really fine video and photos, again using those camera settings in the column on the left, and using the motions that you can use and set with the menu options here. So anyway, this is kind of 101 getting started with the software. Thank you for watching. Boy, this is going to be a fun series, and shoot me some questions if you have any input or just want to explore this thing more. Again, think about this as a handheld drone. It's almost a drone without propellers in a lot of ways. It's a gimbal, and you've got this awesome camera in your pocket already, so why not take advantage of it? Anyway, Terry at blackdogdroneops.com. Of course, I'm a mentor here on the Indie Brigade. Book a session. We'll talk about your drones. We'll talk about your cameras. We'll talk about the software. We've just got so much to talk about. And there's so much cool stuff coming out right now. It's a lot to get excited about, to get you making movies without spending a bunch of money. Get your story out there. I mean, even if it's a 5-minute short, man, what better way to do it than just on a low budget and do it today? I mean, this eliminates all those obstacles that we fought with for so long. So we'll take advantage of this technology and get this stuff going. So anyway, thanks for watching. Look forward to talking to you next week, because we've just got even more. See, I can't even talk. I'm so excited. Even more cool stuff. So have a great week. See you next week.